Conspiracy to kill. New tonight on our news live at 7. A man accused of committing 2 new offenses while on bail will remain behind bars. We are inside the courtroom as a judge refused to grant him bail. But first,
no more deportations to Haiti. That's the call from the United Nations. But what does the Bahamian government have to say? Here are the plans from the immigration minister straight ahead on our news.
Road to coronation continues as Britain and the Commonwealth prepares to crown its new king this Saturday. Megan Shepherd reports from London tonight. And then in our news at 7:30, our Joshua Williams reports on a debate about corporal punishment. The reaction is mixed. Our news live at 7 starts right now. Welcome to our news live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Candido Knowles. A United Nations committee recently calling on all countries in the Americas, including the Bahamas, to suspend deportations to Haiti. But the immigration minister is saying that that's not going to happen. Jamila Mizik has the story.
Repatriations will not cease, says Immigration Minister Keith Bell. That's despite the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination's calls to facilitate the granting of protection measures, regularization, and granting legal stay to Haitian migrants. On Friday, the committee expressed concern over the treatment of Haitian migrants, saying there were concerning reports of human rights violations and abuses against Haitian migrants in the Americas.
Our small nation cannot possibly shoulder any more of a burden. We are standing strong on this position. Despite pressure earlier this year, when the United Nations called for countries in our region to halt deportations to Haiti, once again, I decided to continue repatriations.
Prime Minister Philip Davis previously said the Bahamas simply cannot afford to open its borders.
The infrastructure of the Bahamas, including the educational and the medical system, cannot support uncontrolled numbers of persons entering our country. The government has issued the department a clear and unequivocal mandate that the immigration laws must be enforced, and persons are not permitted to enter or remain in the Bahamas without the requisite approvals. Persons entering or remaining in the Bahamas outside immigration regulations will therefore be apprehended and deported immediately.
Last year, the Bahamas repatriated 4,748 irregular migrants. 3,349 of them were Haitian nationals. Up until March of this year, Bell says 2,030 persons have been repatriated at a cost of more than $1 million.
It is the long-held position of the government of the Bahamas that the international community must assemble the resources needed to provide Haiti with an economic package of debt forgiveness and aid to assist in improving its economic outlook. Fundamentally, the stabilization of Haiti will only happen if Haitians remain in their country and work to find a solution.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jamila Mizik.
All right, thanks a lot, Jamila. Well, a man accused of committing 2 new offenses while on bail for attempted murder will remain behind bars after a judge refused him bail. Prosecutors say Algernon Stubbs, an inmate, conspired to kill homicide detective Sergeant Raphael Miller on March 13th. Stubbs is also charged with the February 10th murder of Jorge Cuevas, who was gunned down on West Bay Street after leaving his home. Stubbs was on bail on allegations that he and other people opened fire on an occupied police car in an attempt to kill Sergeant 2185 Seymour and PC 3814 McKenzie on April 30th back in 2022 when he allegedly reoffended this year. He was remanded to prison on March 20th, 2023 after making an initial appearance in the magistrate's court. Stubbs' bail application was refused by Senior Justice Bernard Turner. And 2 men, ages 25 and 24, and a juvenile are in police custody after they were found with a stolen car and 2 loaded guns. Officers from Operation Ceasefire arrested the men shortly after 2 p.m. Monday after a tip led officers to Robinson Road, where they observed a heavily tinted burgundy Nissan Cube that was stolen in a recent armed robbery we reported about. It was parked outside a shopping plaza. Well, as the officers approached the vehicle, 2 masked men, both of whom were rear seat passengers, exited and were arrested. As the men were being arrested, the driver, police say, sped off and after a short chase, crashed into a parked vehicle. The driver is a 24-year-old resident of Ridgeland Park who is presently being electronically monitored for a murder. A search of the burgundy Nissan Cube revealed 2 handguns and over 45 rounds of ammunition. Officers from the Central Investigations Department and the Anti-Gang and Firearms Investigation Task Force are on the case. And with what seems to be an increase in gender-based violence, many industry stakeholders have spoken about what can be done to combat these issues. One of the suggested solutions we've heard is that more people need to report the matters, and they also need to understand that such behavior is wrong. Another suggested solution we've heard is victims using the Domestic Violence Protection Order Acts to their advantage. According to Magistrate Anne-Marie Darville-Miller, it's one of the most powerful tools which magistrates have full autonomy over.
We can do what's proven. We can do anywhere from removing people out of the home and making them still pay their expenses to the home. We can do things like take away their weapons, because a lot of these people use weapons to intimidate their partners. We can restrain you from going to people's work, and we can do it immediately once it's pronounced and provide you with the help and relief that you need on an interim basis until we are able to hear everyone.
And while there has been an uptick in these types of crimes being reported, she says more needs to be done to encourage more women to come forward.
One of the biggest things with gender-based violence is that it's underreported. Don't mind all the surveys and all the research that's done that tells you, like for instance, UB said 4,000 women were raped in marriage according to their research last year. Don't mind the research from CDAW. I'm not saying that it's not correct, but it's underreported. And so with the underreporting, we don't really have an idea what people are going through.
All right, and this week's opinion piece, As I See It, by Our News columnist Tanya Smith-Cartwright, addressing recent news developments surrounding North Abaco MP Kirk Cornish, who turned himself into police for questioning. The columnist writing he was questioned and released and in time for a Family Island grill and chill. She's also writing that the current allegations against him and what is being alleged as his history are indeed very serious, and was expecting he may have spent much more time with police. If you want a full read, it's available now at ournews.bs. Just hit the opinion tab. A new column is there. It publishes every Monday. And 3 months after 2 immigration officers assaulted 2 Haitian barbers in a viral video, investigations are said to still be ongoing. You may recall that the viral video showed 2 barbers being slapped and escorted out of the barbershop by the men believed to be officers. Immigration Minister Keith Bell telling reporters ahead of the weekly cabinet meeting today that those officers are still on administrative leave and that the matter is still being investigated by police as well as the Department of Immigration.
There is no update again. The matter is, it is moving ahead, I can say that much. And hopefully within the next few weeks, some decision would be made in respect to that matter.
All right, we've got much more to get to in a moment, but for now, it's time for your first look at temperatures across the islands. And meteorologist Greg Thompson, he's standing by in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, and happy Tuesday evening, everybody. A very warm day around the islands today. Temperatures managed to get up into the mid to upper 80s. We are settling now into the low 80s. It's still warm outside, but it's beautiful, mostly clear skies. Your winds out of the south at 6 miles per hour, and your field strike temperature is at 80 degrees. Temperatures around the islands tonight right now, all in the 80s, 80 in Freeport, as well as in Marsh Harbour, Abaco, 83 in Allenstown, Bimini. We pick up 84 in Nicholstown. Very warm evening. 81 in the Great Harbour Key area, here in Nassau as well, and in Governor's Harbour, your temperature 80 degrees there. Into the Central Bahamas, 85 in Kemps Bay, 81s in Arthurstown, Cat Island, Georgetown. We pick up a pair of 80s in Copentown, San Salvador, and in Deadman's Key. And in Southeast Bahamas, 82s in Duncantown, Ragged Island, Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Delectable Bay, as well as Abrahams Bay. Matthew Town, Inagua, 84, and our neighbors, good neighbors to the southeast, Turks and Caicos Islands, you guys are 83 at this hour. On our satellite, quiet across the area, ridge of high pressure is in charge, and that's continuing to generate some very dry air mass across the area. That frontal boundary down near the southeast Bahamas is basically washing out a lot of the clouds moving out, but we are watching a very, very weak cold front across North Florida. Should get down here sometime by tomorrow evening. Nothing much expected in that, but it will reinforce our dry air mass across us. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast still to come.
Still to come in our news, get ready for a pocket pinch. A newly approved rate hike means some Grand Bahamians will have to pay more for water supplies. But first, from the streets of London, our Megan Shepherd reports on the road to coronation as Charles III is about to be crowned king. And later, the hummingbirds that are helping the state-run hospital in Nassau with medical supplies. We've got more on their donation when our news returns.
Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do.
Shareholders are very happy.
Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do.
I have been brought up to hold in the greatest respect the precious traditions, freedoms, and responsibilities of our unique history.
This Saturday, the eyes of the world will again focus on London. 8 months ago, we said farewell to Britain's longest-serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. But as Megan Shepherd reports from London tonight, there are preparations of another kind this time around.
Crowds are filing in, roads closing, and flags line London streets. Amidst the preparations for the celebrations, police are in place for the coronation ceremony of King Charles III. Even now, a few eager spectators have pitched tents along the mall, ensuring they have a perfect view. Global news crews are already marking their spots near Buckingham Palace to ensure the world witnesses the historic ceremony. Our news team also observed officers at the National Guards Museum in what could easily be preparations for the ceremony. Now, the ceremony begins 11 a.m. with the King's procession to Westminster Abbey, then moving along to Buckingham Palace. For context, a coronation is a symbolic and religious ceremony where a sovereign is crowned. It formalizes a monarch's role in the head of the Church of England and marks the transfer of title and power. However, a coronation is no longer necessary, instead a traditional ceremonial event. The mall, which leads to Buckingham Palace, is lined with the flags of Commonwealth countries, among them the Bahamian flag. Our news team speaking with British police on the expected changes, like this emblem on the palace gates, which reads ER II, representing Elizabeth Regina II. But eventually, this will be changed to CR3 for Charles Rex III. Banknotes are also on the list of changes this year. In London, reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepherd.
This segment of the news is brought to you by H.G. Christie. List your home in Grand Bahama with H.G. Christie. Visit our new office in the Port Lacaya Marketplace. H.G. Christie, celebrating over 100 years of service.
Regulators for the Grand Bahama Utility Company have approved a request for a rate adjustment that will take effect June 1st, but 40% of their customers will see no change in their bills. You may remember the GB Utility Company said last month they were forced to apply for the rate hike following Hurricane Dorian, as the company has spent over $15 million in recovery costs. The approval by the Grand Bahama Port Authority will commence with proposed capital investment plans that include the construction of a 1.5 million gallon a day mobile reserve osmosis plant that's expected to begin construction this year. That plant will seek to address some of the water pressure issues. The Port Authority has sanctioned several customer service standards that GBUC will be held accountable to its customers and regulators for. If GBUC fails to meet any service standards, customer water accounts will be credited. For more on those credits and the full statement from the Port Authority on the rate adjustment, you can visit ournews.bs. And the Princess Margaret Hospital receiving a much-needed donation from the Hummingbird Association. The organization, made up of Jamaican nationals living in the Bahamas, coming together to donate equipment valued thousands of dollars. President of the association, George Hayes, says they're happy to give back.
Today's donation is a medical cart and a CPAP machine. And of course, this is approximately about $3,000 in totality. And we are hoping and trust that this donation will assist the hospital in a very meaningful way. This hospital has been quite beneficial to just about every one of us. And giving back is a way to show our appreciation.
Public Relations Officer for the association, Sharon Purser Cooper, says every dollar that was donated went to good use.
All of that added up, and this afternoon we're happy to present over almost $4,000 worth of equipment. So I want to say thanks to them as well, and to our Jamaican community in the midst of some of their challenges, had the passion and made the sacrifice to give and to make this evening possible. Thank you also to our Bahamian community, as we were in front of the business houses soliciting donations for this evening, and they gave. And I just want them to know every dollar counted, because many persons were only able to give $1.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world, as one of the Minneapolis officers involved in the death of George Floyd has been found guilty of aiding and abetting. Plus, experts say the king's coronation being met with ambivalence in the largest Commonwealth nation, as calls to break with the UK monarchy continue. And painting their pride for Jubilee Day, students join the independence celebrations. The story when our news continues.
I have been brought up to hold in the greatest respect the precious traditions, freedoms, and responsibilities of our unique history.
This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. One of the Minneapolis officers involved in the death of George Floyd has been found guilty of aiding and abetting manslaughter. A Minnesota judge issued the guilty verdict for Tow on Monday night. Four former police officers were charged in the aftermath of Floyd's death. His killing led to mass protests around the world. Tow's conviction on the latest charges marks the end in a series of state and federal cases against the four men. As the United Kingdom prepares for the coronation of King Charles III, his ascension to the throne is being met with ambivalence in Canada. It's the largest Commonwealth nation. This, as experts say, calls to break with the UK monarchy continue as the plans are being met with a collective shrug in the North American country of about 38 million people. In April, the Angus Reid Institute found that 3 in 5 people in Canada were against recognizing his reign. And now to the region, where a humanitarian group says Haiti is on the brink of a civil war. Mercy Corps issued the warning Monday as violence between criminal gangs and civilians risks spiraling. It says the deteriorating security situation and rising prices have also sparked a hunger crisis in the Caribbean nation. With the escalating violence, particularly in the capital Port-au-Prince, where gangs have taken over large parts of the city, families are losing access to basic necessities, including food and clean water. Last week, a mob lynched at least 13 suspected gang members who had been arrested in Port-au-Prince. And finally, as the gas lines grow longer, tempers in Cuba are growing shorter. Since mid-April, Cuba has struggled with its most dire fuel shortage in years, prompting comparisons to the severe disruptions Cubans suffered after the fall of the Soviet Union. Reports say late-night fistfights have broken out at gas stations between drivers, accusing one another of cutting the line, even among foreign diplomats who have their own gas station assigned to them. Cuba's communist-run government has blamed U.S. economic sanctions for the disruptions, but also conceded in state-run media that countries that traditionally supply the island with oil have not been sending promised fuel. Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was May 2nd, including the 2015 edition of the IAAF World Relays. Plus, the road to 50, how the area surrounding Southern Recreation Grounds is about to come to life in an independence celebration. Find out the students involved. And then in our news at 7:30, on the hunt for 2 male suspects. Police say they believe the men are behind a shooting that's put a man and a primary school student in hospital. The latest from investigators when our news returns. Welcome back to our news. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was May 2nd, including 2 general elections. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history, in 1902, Mabel Cordelia Holloway was born in Greenville, South Carolina. The Historical Society notes Mabel Walker moved to the Bahamas after meeting her future husband, Claudius Roland Walker, whom the school's C.R. Walker Senior Secondary School is named after. She taught at the Bahamas Technical Institute and later at Woodcock Primary, where she became headmistress. She became an advocate for teachers in the Bahamas and was the founder of the Bahamas Union of Teachers. Walker's Hall, the headquarters of the union on Somilo Butler Highway, and the school on New Providence are both named in her honor. Walker died in 1987 at the age of 85. Then on this day in 2002, voters across 40 constituencies headed to the polls with a record number of 132 candidates. Hubert Ingram of the Free National Movement, who was Prime Minister at the time, announced his intention to step down from the post after the election. Tommy Turnquest was voted leader-elect the year prior. Perry Christie, who was then leader of the Progressive Liberal Party, led his party to a landslide victory. 5 years later, in 2007, voters headed to the polls on this day, and this time Hubert Ingram, who was earlier elected leader of the FNM once again, replaced Tommy Turnquest and ran against incumbent Perry Christie. The election result was very close, with the FNM winning 23 seats and the PLP 18. Ingram was sworn in as Prime Minister 2 days later, marking his third term in office. Then May 2nd, 2015 saw the second International Amateur Athletic Federation IAAF World Relays take place at the Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium. The event was held from the 2nd to the 3rd. More than 40 countries participated in the two-day event that offered $1.4 million in cash prizes. The majority of the top athletes in the world competed in the event, including Jamaica's Usain Bolt and Veronica Campbell-Brown, America's Tyson Gray and Allison Felix, and Chris Fireman Brown and Shawnee Miller of the Bahamas. Then in 2021, the Bahamas recorded a grim milestone as health officials reported the COVID-19 death toll had surpassed 200. The number stood at 209 at the time. Health officials said 6 cases previously under investigation had been confirmed. This as fire officials battled a blaze off Balfour Avenue that destroyed homes and businesses on the same day.
That is so sad. Come out and see. I mean, I know the houses all my life and the persons who live across there. And even the latest through the roads, you know, it's strange. I mean, it's unreal. It's hard.
All right, and if you want to see that historical recap again, you can visit ournews.bs. Well, as part of the road to 50 years of independence for the Bahamas, Friday, May 5th, that's this Friday, it's being observed as Jubilee Day. Its focus is in schools, showing national pride, but the day will end with a production near the Southern Recreational Grounds, and work is already underway. Marlena Leonard has the story.
Let's celebrate Bahamas!
Whenever we're thinking about doing events, our top priority, as our slogan says, is our future. The youth of our country is definitely our future. They need to be involved in this 50th in order to be excited about the next 50th. And so we realize that they are truly important. And so whenever we do any of our events, just as you said, there's always young persons involved. That's important to us.
15 Bahamian high schoolers have been commissioned to paint the exterior of what was once the Market Street City Market across the street from the historic Southern Recreational Grounds. Kendronique Ferguson and Kaylin Murphy are students hard at work on the mural and share what the opportunity means to them and explain their work.
Possibly everything, just being a part of history itself, because this building itself is history. So the fact that we are able to paint on a historical monument is exciting in itself, so I'd say everything.
We have about 15 of us working here. Displayed, we have a lot that makes the Bahamas the Bahamas. We have the yellow elder, we have the flamingo, the blue marlin, just all around the building.
It's all part of the independence celebrations and part of the preparations for Friday's Jubilee Day.
Schools everywhere across the length and breadth of this nation, they're going to be celebrating all things Bahamian. And when you leave work, you leave the office, all roads lead to Market Street, the old city market building, opposite Southern Recreation Ground. We're celebrating. It's a major production that's happening here. And I hope to see you all right here on this property.
But it's not limited to school children. She urges corporate Bahamas to show support by wearing flag colors on Friday. The evening event starts with a cultural village opening at 4 p.m. and includes a show showing the country's journey at 7 p.m. Miller Bryce says she hopes the event's free entry will encourage larger crowds.
We're looking for as many Bahamians to be here as possible. The chairs will be available, the seating will be here, and it's important to ensure that we include everyone, and hence the reason why this event is free. There's no discrimination. This is our 50th, all of us collectively. We're celebrating together. This is one country.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
All right, thanks a lot, Marlena. What an excellent effort and what a way to show Bahamian pride. If you want to see that story again, and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. It's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Atalia Hall. She's got the latest headlines. Atalia, I want to know, where are you with your New Year's resolutions? I just thought about it because I remember us having a conversation
but I remember
about that.
Yours. It was patience,
it was.
Right? So where
Still
are you
a work
with
in
that?
progress.
Work in progress. For me,
Still a work in progress.
I'm trying to figure out what I'm working on. I got some time, right?
I only just thought about that, and I figured, you know what? Let me check in and see where she's at.
All right, thanks so much, Ken. Well, the debate on corporal punishment in schools is revived as residents react. Plus, the Prime Minister criticizing the international community over climate change responses. Here are your latest headlines. The discussion continues. First tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. Yes or no to corporal punishment in schools? We have reaction.
The Bible says, if we spare the rod, we spoil the child. Okay, you can't bend a tree when it's old. You have to bend the tree while it's young.
Also, why the nation's leader says the global response to threats of climate change is still not enough.
I fear, however, that too much of the conversation is still focused on the causes of climate change and not enough on implementing the practical solutions.
We have his comments from London as he prepares for the King's coronation. But first, Central Bank says the country's unemployment rate is expected to climb even higher since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, but the labor minister is weighing in. And later, a legend remembered. A local musician reflects on the life and legacy of Ronnie Ambrister, who passed away this week. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
Whether you're battling a chronic condition or offsetting a new injury, Doctors Hospital's comprehensive rehab services offer the help you need now.
Go to doctors.
3 advanced facilities at Collins Avenue, Carmichael Road, and Cable Beach means your personalized plan for care is just a visit away. From physiotherapy to occupational therapy and speech and language pathology, our team approach is all about rebuilding together. For a full list of services, visit doctorshosp.com/rehabilitation. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now. Isn't your health worth it?
First we plan, then we innovate, then we build. At Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, we are committed to quality, to safety, and to service. We know that the road you take is just as important as your final destination. At Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, it is our job to make sure the road and the ride are as smooth as possible. From striping roads to building them, we are the right choice, the trusted choice, the only choice to help you build your tomorrow.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Atalia Hall. Residents on both sides of the fence when it comes to corporal punishment in our schools. The question, should children be physically punished? Our Joshua Williams has their responses.
The discussion on corporal punishment continues as residents give their take on the matter. Last week, Education Minister Glenys Hannah Martin sharing the need for the ministry to explore other ways in dealing with students who misbehave. But this resident disagrees.
It never killed me as a child, okay? And there are times when the children are our children today is so rude, okay? A lot of them don't get discipline at home. Okay, and when you would hit the classroom, do you know the teachers spend more time with the children at all times? And so if they have to use the ruler to spank them, it's fine.
Helen Smith says, in her opinion, beating students is an act of violence.
Because I just don't believe it's violence to me, and there's other ways that you can do it. There's other ways that you can punish a child without beating a child. Well, you can take their cell phones away for a day, and that is, I think they'd rather be beaten than that.
Karen Moxie supports corporal punishment but still had a concern.
That teacher themselves has a problem at home and come to the school and take it out on your child, innocent child. Mind you, the child might not be doing nothing. Well, children will be children, okay? But if you're going to come to school and take out your frustration on my child, and then I must just sit back, no, it's wrong.
These parents share tips on how they deal with their own children.
Because if I beat my 5-year-old and she goes back and do the same thing, so I just give her a word of advice that, hey, I'm watching you, and if you do this again, you won't get this and you won't get that. So I feel like give them counseling and putting other stuff in besides, like saying, I'll do this for you and you won't do that, then they'll probably listen. Because plenty of times she'll say, okay, if I don't do this, would you buy me this? And that works. So
it's not working, so you sit down and you really have a person-to-person talk with your child, and you find out what is going on. You go back to that person and say, this is what, no, well, it's just odd.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, thanks, Josh. Well, police are looking for two men they think are behind a shooting incident that landed both a 30-year-old man and a primary school student in hospital. Now, the incident unfolded around 3:35 p.m. yesterday in the Fox Hill area. That's when the adult victim arrived at his Mandingo Alley home, where he was approached by two men who jumped out of a burgundy Japanese vehicle. The gunman opened fire, shooting the victim multiple times, then fled onto Johnson Road, where they struck a primary school student with their getaway vehicle. Now, both victims were taken to hospital in a private car, and the 30-year-old is in serious condition, while the child's condition is listed as stable. Well, the country's highest court has rejected a final appeal by a man sentenced to 30 years for trying to kill his former girlfriend. The decision ended Gary Thurston's bid to be freed from prison. Now, in 2020, the Bahamian Court of Appeal affirmed Thurston's conviction and sentence. 36-year-old Thurston went to Stephanie Kemp's home in Ridgeland Park West on April 6, 2016, and shot her in the chest with his shotgun after telling her, "If I can't have you, no one can have you." According to the prosecution, Thurston attempted to kill Kemp after he murdered her schoolmate, Sakino Colley, because he thought they were dating. Thurston also shot Kemp's mother, Concetta Lawrence. She lost her ring finger in the shooting as she put her hands up in defense. Thurston was acquitted of Colley's murder and Lawrence's attempted murder. The Court of Appeal said that Thurston was fortunate that the jury did not convict him of the murder of Colley and the attempted murder of Lawrence because the evidence was overwhelming. Although there have not been any recent official estimates on the exact unemployment rate, numbers are still projected to be higher than it was before the pandemic started. That information is according to the Central Bank Governor, John Roll, during yesterday's monthly Economic Financial Developments press briefing. Now, today, Labor and Immigration Minister Keith Bell responded to that this way.
I'm not sure where he's getting this information from, but it would appear to me that the economy is opened. Persons are working in significant numbers. I know Bahamians who have 2 and 3 jobs. But again, we cannot say these things unless we are supported by scientific, comprehensive approach, because it is subjective.
Bell says Roll's comments are startling, adding that he believes the unemployment rate from then to now is comparative.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's lower, but definitely I know it cannot certainly be higher. And because the economy has opened, and we have one thing that is high on this government's agenda is job creation. And I think you can look all around the country and you could see the economy has opened, jobs are available in every sector, particularly in the construction industry.
Prime Minister Philip Davis is in the United Kingdom this week for King Charles III's coronation. The Prime Minister is expected to have a busy itinerary this week, including speaking at the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council Roundtable on the blue-green economy and resilience for small island states. The Prime Minister says for too long the focus has been on the cause of climate change and not enough on the response.
I fear, however, that too much of the conversation is still focused on the causes of climate change and not enough on implementing the practical solution to respond. which we all know are vitally necessary. I also fear that much of the language used in these conversations has lost a lot of their punch and meaning. Many will speak of the existential threats we face, yet I'm not sure that the reality it speaks to is always felt by those listening.
Now, the roundtable talks included discussions surrounding the burden of hurricane debt on the Bahamian government, as well as ways the British government can share methods with the Bahamian government in hopes to help close the insurance gap. The Prime Minister says his focus is on urgency and action.
I wish to inject some urgency into our conversation. In discussing the transition to blue and green economies, let us remember that time is against us. We have to move quickly if we are to rebuild effectively in ways that help us to adapt and make us more resilient to the shocks of climate change. Then we need to move quickly. If we are to benefit from effective and emerging technologies, then we cannot talk through one hurricane season after the other and still expect to succeed.
Well, our Megan Shepherd is in London tonight, and we'll check in with her in just a bit. But for now, partly cloudy skies with nice temperatures outside the Our News studios this evening. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with a first look at weather. Greg?
Yeah, thanks again and welcome back everybody for a quick check on conditions outside our studios and around the islands. It's still warm outside, 81 degrees and mostly clear skies. Your winds are out of the south at 6 miles per hour and your field slide temperature is at 80 degrees. Satellite view, high pressure in charge, providing us with a lot of dry air mass. There's a weak front down near the southeast Bahamas that's basically washing itself out. A couple isolated showers could be possible down there, but all in all, it's going to be very nice for the night and into tomorrow. That's a quick check on conditions around the islands and outside our studios. Stick with us to look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, a new era for Britain as the road to the coronation for King Charles III continues. Our Megan Shepherd is in London. Plus, lots of events on the country's anniversary of independence calendar as July 10th approaches. The chair of the National Independence Secretariat is encouraging Bahamians to get involved. And later, a musical icon has died. Hear how one local musician says he should be remembered when our news returns.
First we plan, then we innovate, then we build. At Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, we are committed to quality, to safety, and to service. We know that the road you take is just as important as your final destination. At Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, it is our job to make sure the road and the ride are as smooth as possible. From striping roads to building them, we are the right choice, the trusted choice, the only choice to help you build your tomorrow.
Bahamas Consul General to Toronto Al Dalat was found dead in his official residence in Canada this morning. The news was confirmed by Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell in a statement that indicated that it appeared Dalat died last evening of natural causes. The statement said he was found by the Consulate General's staff when he could not be reached this morning. The emergency services with the consulate staff entered the premises and discovered that he had passed away. Prime Minister Philip Davis also releasing a statement calling Dalat one of the finest journalists this country produced. Last month, the Prime Minister and Dalat, along with other officials, were in Toronto for the opening of the new Bahamas consulate in that city. It's been about 70 years since the world witnessed the coronation of a British monarch. For many British citizens and the rest of the world, it will be the first time you will witness an event like this. Our Megan Shepard is on the ground in London and gives us a glimpse into the royal celebrations.
The lights and sounds of a royal coronation are set to come alive in a matter of days. The countdown is on to the official coronation of King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla. Just 8 short months ago, the mood here was much different with the death of Queen Elizabeth II. This time around, the sentiments focus on the ascension of a new king.
I'm happy that King is getting his, wedding and all that, and beautiful celebration to adorn him. I get the whole narcissism factor, and I respect that. That I get. The cost, can't. The hype, I can't. The last couple of days, they shut down the roads every now and then just to, check the routine works. And it's just irrelevant. Honestly, I shouldn't have to live through that just because, someone wants to get a crown on their head.
I really have no thoughts about the coronation. I know it's like a big day for many people, but for me, I'll just take it as another day. Yeah. I don't feel like I'm not into monarchy and all that, so yeah, this is my thoughts.
Now, we also spoke to this visitor from Canada who says while he won't be in town for the coronation, he is excited to see all of the preparations. He also told us he spoke to a number of locals who shared their feelings on what's to come on Saturday.
Well, we were on a tour and it was mostly people from Britain, so we asked them while we were on the tour, are you guys interested in the coronation? And about half of them said no, not so much, but the other half are planning to come down, they're planning to take part in the festivities. They want to do some of the concerts that are being booked. So some of them are very enthusiastic and others just a little bit lukewarm.
Hyro has only been living in the UK for a year, but says he's really felt the impact of the Queen's death. He's now looking to see what happens with the new king.
I was pretty sad about the Queen, the King. It's a new figure. Let's see.
And as preparations pick up across town, in Westminster, they are expecting a level of chaos on Saturday, but in the best way.
Crazy, it's gonna be mental. The streets are gonna be full of flags, people are gonna go crazy. They're probably drunk, running in the streets. It'll be a celebration day, so I'm sure. But yeah, in terms of how I feel, for me, yeah, good for them.
I think everybody's excited about the king, all the progress, all the changes, coins, the currencies changing, not the currency itself, but pictures and all that.
In London, reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
All right, thanks so much, Megan. Well, the road to 50 is well underway with July 10th just over 2 months away. And Chair of the National Independence Secretariat, Leslie Miller-Bryce, says the month of May is a busy one for celebrations. She urges Bahamians to keep an eye out for Family Island festivities so they don't miss out.
Well, the month of May, we have so many different events planned. The calendar is packed. There is something that I do want the Bahamian public to pay attention to, is that our foreign missions and our Family Island calendars are also on our website. That's www.celebrate-bahamas.com. Please, if you're from a family island, please look at the schedule. Let's travel. Let's support them. Let's show them the love that they deserve, because it's not just Nassau-centric. We're celebrating as a nation, as one.
Miller-Bryce tells us that the events aren't only chances for the public to party, but she says also to create opportunities for Bahamian creatives in multiple industries.
We're going to be engaging our fashion creatives, our art creatives. There's a Junkanoo event that's being planned. There's a big festival that's happening on Bay Street. Gombe is returning to Bay Street. And so there's a lot of excitement. But please, there's so much that I don't remember, but I'm asking public, Bahamians, please come out and support. This 50th is a celebration of all things Bahamian. It's a celebration of us. It's a celebration of how far we've come as a nation.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, musical icon Ronnie Ambrister may be gone, but he leaves behind a rich legacy. Tonight we hear from a musician who details Ambrister's contributions to the nation.
Coming up in sports, New Providence is 6 days out from hosting the 2023 CONCACAF Beach Soccer Cup, and DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns fall to 0-2 against the Denver Nuggets. Stay right there. Our sports is next.
And it's
I have been brought up to hold in the greatest respect the precious traditions, freedoms.
Over the years, dozens of journalists have walked through these halls and called Cable 12 home. They've made an impact on the industry and hopefully our viewers. They all have one thing in common. They've each been a part of the Cable 12 news story. I'm Christina Dragovich, and this is Our Story, 20 years in the making.
Port arrivals are up again as March brings spring breakers.
again while PM Davis speaks out on RCI Beach Club concerns and smooth and dry for residents who traverse the Fishing Hole Road Service Road.
They say fate without work is dead, but Denisha Dean worked toward her acting dream and is now a TV and movie actress with roles in several commercials and the Tyler Perry series.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Corona, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is our news. Welcome back. Nassau is less than 1 week away from hosting this year's CONCACAF Beach Soccer Cup, and DeAndre Ayton and of the Phoenix Suns lose their second straight to the Denver Nuggets. Here's Tej Adderley with a check on sports. Tej?
Thanks, Italia. Good evening and welcome to Our Sports. I'm Tej Adderley. We're less than 1 week out from the CONCACAF Beach Soccer Cup. The tournament will be held at the National Beach Soccer Stadium right here in New Providence. We're excited about this world-class soccer event. The 2023 edition of the CONCACAF Beach Soccer Championship is all set to begin next Monday, January 8th. The tournament will feature the top teams from the Americas: Belize, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Guadeloupe, Guatemala, Mexico, Panama, the Turks and Caicos Islands, Trinidad and Tobago, the U.S., and your host country, the Bahamas. The field will be split up into 3 groups. The Bahamas will be in Group B with Mexico, Guatemala, and Belize. The Bahamas squad's first match is scheduled for Monday against Guatemala at 7:30 p.m. DeAndre Ayton and his Phoenix Suns played Game 2 of their second-round playoff series against the Denver Nuggets last night. Unfortunately, things did not go their way. DeAndre Ayton and his Phoenix Suns lost Game 2 of their Western Conference semifinal matchup with the Denver Nuggets, 97-87. Ayton had 14 points and 8 rebounds on 7 of 10 shooting, but he had his hands full all night guarding star Nuggets center Nikola Jokic, who scored 39 points and grabbed 16 rebounds on his watch. Devin Booker led the Suns in scoring with 35 points, and Kevin Durant had 25 points and 8 rebounds. The series continues on Friday night. And that was your look at sports. I'm Tej Adderley.
Still ahead on Our News tonight, a local musician is remembering the life and legacy of the late Ronnie Ambrister. Hear how he says Ambrister impacted his life and career. The full story is straight ahead. But first, sunny skies around the capital today, although there may be a chance of rain as the weekend approaches. Don't go away just yet. Greg is back with your extended weather forecast in a moment.
I have been brought up to hold in the greatest respect the precious traditions, freedoms, and responsibilities of our unique history.
This is Our News. Welcome back. Nice temperatures outside the Our News studios. Greg is back in the Weather Center with your extended weather forecast. Greg?
Yeah, thanks again and welcome back everybody for our final check on weather. Nice conditions around the islands, very hot temperatures, managed to get up into the mid to upper 80s. Dry air masses in place courtesy of a high pressure system that's still sticking across our area. That's going to stay with us. There's a very weak front across North Florida. You're not noticing much in terms of any cloud mass. This is actually the extension of that front. Should clip us by tomorrow and move out of the area. High pressure will build back across us, and that's going to continue to generate some very nice weather conditions over the next couple of days. Putting our future forecast map into motion. Quiet across us, some high-level clouds moving across, maybe a spotty shower. That's through tomorrow. And then Wednesday, that frontal boundary will hang out just to the north of the Bahamas and then quickly pull out towards east. And once again, high pressure builds across us for the remainder of the week. Boating forecast, northwest Bahamas tonight to tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the southwest to west at 10 to 50 knots, slightly high across the extreme northern islands. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your high tide was at 6:37 this evening. For the central and southeast Bahamas, winds southeast to south at 10 knots. Seas will be running 1 to 3 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, nothing much to talk about. That high pressure will remain in charge for our weather. Beautiful sunny skies, but by the weekend we could see a bit of an uptick in the breeze. Temperatures will stay high, but they will be shaved off, and then we expect some more moisture in the forecast by next week. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe evening, everybody.
All right, thanks, Greg. While condolences continue to pour in for the late Ronnie Ambrister, who passed away in hospital at the age of 79. He's been described as a man who was dedicated to music and contributed a lot to the industry. In this report, a local musician is reflecting on his life and legacy.
He should be remembered for being one that is persistent and no nonsense. You know, he really believed that the craft should be done professionally.
Singer and musician Ronnie Ambrister has been described as a musical icon, one who had a deep passion for music and its development in the country. He was once the president of the Bahamas Music and Entertainers Union. Musician and producer Fred Ferguson says Ambrister left behind a rich legacy.
He sang with Kenny and the Beach Boys and others, and a lot of stuff as a solo musician as well. So his contribution to the industry goes from being an artist all the way up to being the president. So it's safe to say that he is another soldier in the fight for what we've been, trying to perfect in the Bahamas in that craft of entertainment.
Youth, Sports and Culture Minister Mario Bullag releasing a statement on Ambrister's death, noting that his counsel to governments on projects and issues involving entertainment has been exemplary. The Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard also giving his condolences and says Ambrister was a true and valued supporter of the party, adding that he was not just a supporter, but a talented vocalist and a lover of the piano. Ambrister, who died on Monday, also served on the Cultural Commission and helped with its development to advance Bahamian culture and employment of entertainers.
You know, Ronnie was just a good friend, man. I just saw him and ironically just at another musician's funeral. And we had a conversation and we had made plans to meet and, to do some other things prior to the 50th anniversary of independence. And so when I got the news that he passed, it also gave me a perspective of the fragility of life and how seriously we need to take things, especially nowadays.
All right, and condolences from the entire Our News team. And to see that story again, you can visit ournews.bs. With that, we thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.